Labour is facing a growing backlash after being accused of quietly blocking a bill that would ban first cousin marriage in the UK. The controversy centres on a private member's bill proposed by Conservative MP Richard Holden, legislation that has now stalled for over a year with no vote, no debate and no clear explanation from the government. Critics say Labour is turning a blind eye to serious health risks, safeguarding concerns and public opinion, while supporters argue the issue is complex, sensitive and culturally charged. So what's really going on, and why has the bill gone nowhere? The proposed marriage bill was introduced by Richard Holden in December 2024 using the 10-minute rule procedure. Its aim is simple: to ban first cousin marriage in England and Wales. The bill was due to return to the House of Commons for its second reading today, having already been stalled on 2 other occasions, but that didn't happen. Why? Because the Commons is no longer sitting on January 9th, meaning once again, no progress. In fact, it has now been 395 days since the bill was first scheduled for debate. With such limited time afforded to a private member's bill, Richard Holden argues that unless Labour steps in and gives his bill government backing, it will die entirely after the next King's Speech, forcing the Basildon and Billericay MP to start the process all over again.
Yeah, so 3 real concerns, really. One is that obviously there's the health implications of it, but also the fact that it's quite clear to me that especially when it goes on from generation to generation to generation, we're also seeing almost clan structures being formed, people unable to get out of them. And it's pretty clear that the impact that has on individual freedom is also really strong too. So I think right across the board, this is not something that we want to see widespread in this country. And it's something that I just think that we need to see the government take some action on, which is why I put the legislation forwards. They're not allowing any more Fridays for private members' bills at the moment. So it looks like it's going to be at least after the King's Speech before we can start this fight in Parliament again.
Richard, is there a reason why Labour seem a little bit reticent here to do something about first cousin marriage? A lot of social commentary online is pointing to the fact that Labour might want these votes for people, particularly in places like Bradford, for example, where there's a large Pakistani community. It's a high practice rate in the Pakistani community, and some of those seats, Labour looks like it could be losing to sectarian votes. Is it perhaps they just want to avoid this topic? They don't want to lose the voters?
Well, I think there's definitely a real issue here. I think the truth is that there is a real divide in Labour on this. There's some people who know it's the right thing to do to ban it. But I think the political masters overall are basically saying, no, we can't touch this. When I introduced it in the House of Commons, I had one of the independent MPs fighting against it, speaking against it in Parliament, which is very clear. Labour I think the last thing Labour want is to actually have to face this issue down. But I tell you now, if we don't face this issue down, we don't get it sorted out, actually we'll just perpetuate the problems. And I want to see these problems solved, and I want to see problems sorted. And it's quite clear that this government just isn't up to doing that.
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN. And a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. This offer ends on the 7th of January, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
The Basildon and Billericay MP had asked the Prime Minister directly about supporting his proposed ban on cousin marriage. However, Sir Keir Starmer firmly rejected the request with a blunt response to the Shadow Minister in the House of Commons last year.
A marriage between first cousins carries significant health issues, many of which aren't even knowable until post-birth. When practiced generation after generation, there is a significant multiplier effect. In addition, the real impacts for the openness of our society and women's rights in our country are also significant. After all, there are significant dynamics in sharing a same set of grandparents. On Friday, this government has a choice to let my bill go through to ban first cousin marriage to committee stage. Will the Prime Minister think again before instructing his whips to block this legislation?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've taken our position on that bill. Thank you.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
The row first erupted in the House of Commons when pro-Gaza independent MP Iqbal Mohammed became the first parliamentarian to openly defend cousin marriage.
There are documented health risks with first cousin marriage. And I agree this is an issue. This is an issue that needs greater awareness on. Virginity testing, forced marriages, and the freedom of women must be forced marriage must be prevented, and the freedom of women must be protected. Instead, the matter needs to be approached as a health awareness issue and a cultural issue where women are being forced against their will to undergo marriage. In doing so, it is important to recognise for many people this is a highly sensitive issue. A much more positive approach would be to facilitate advanced genetic test screening for prospective married couples, as is the case in all Arab countries in the Persian Gulf, and more generally to run health education programs targeting those communities where the practice is most common.
Cousin marriage is particularly prevalent in Pakistan, with rural areas experiencing rates of more than 80%. However, inner-city Bradford also saw cousin marriage rates among British Pakistanis reach 46% in 2023. Polling conducted by YouGov last year revealed that 39% of Pakistani and Bangladeshi Britons oppose the ban, while 47% would support Richard Holden's move. Meanwhile, 77% of white and Indian Britons support a ban, with the figure surging to 82% among black Britons. Labour won 44% of the Pakistani and Bangladeshi vote at the 2024 general election, despite coming under serious pressure from pro-Gaza independent candidates and the Green Party. That pressure has continued since the general election, with both the Greens and Jeremy Corbyn's Your Party looking to siphon off votes over issues such as Gaza. However, much of the concern centres on public health. Research conducted by the University of Bradford found that children born to first cousins are more likely to suffer speech and language difficulties and less likely to reach a good stage of early development. Other studies show that a child of cousin marriage is twice as likely to have a birth defect, with around a 1 in 4 chance of developing certain recessive genetic disorders. And it's such health concerns that prompted Labour MP Neil Coyle to come out in favour of a ban, defying many of his parliamentary colleagues. The Bermondsey and Old Southwark MP warned that the prevalence of infant mortality and birth defects alone warrants the ban. Even Health Secretary Wes Streeting has described first cousin marriage as high risk and unsafe, criticising NHS guidance that once suggested possible benefits. So for now, the bill remains stalled and time is running out. Labour insists marriage law is under review, while critics accuse the government of avoiding a difficult conversation for political reasons. Whether this becomes a matter of public health, cultural sensitivity, or electoral strategy, one thing is clear. The debate over cousin marriage in Britain is far from over.